saw this wild west in the industry. We saw all of these products marketed as natural, yet containing 80% synthetic ingredients and exactly the same chemicals as before, but just with different natural marketing. So we wanted to clean up the whole industry. So ours is the first standards body which guarantees that your product, number one, is
Sam and Kit Warren-Russell, who really took skincare into their own hands.
Twin brothers from the UK who are taking the skincare industry by storm.
Sam is a nuclear astrophysicist, and Kit is a geophysicist and author.
A Notre Dame grad and his twin brother are looking to revolutionize skin health.
The two launched a 2-year intensive research study.
Two very smart guys who knew all about bad skin at a very early age.
That woman at the end was our mum, and really she's the face which launched 1,000 questions for us.
Well, let's go. Hey boys, how you doing? We're on new technology this week. We're upping our game a bit. Right?
In the world of the Skin Microbiome School, we are now, well, we always have been, but really focusing on guiding people through skin programs. So whether it's a client, like a person with skin problems or want to improve their skin microbiome, or if it's a professional, so like a natural health professional or a skincare professional, we sell packages to them to guide them through the process of how they can help their customers with the skin microbiome and how they can then skyrocket their business using that.
This takes me back to the early days of, well, especially our skin supplements company, because we've been doing for certain selected high-paying individuals who've been going on our Skin Microbiome Fitness plans. We've been doing a little bit of analysis of their cosmetics, because one of the big things from our research which actually causes damage to the skin microbiome and the skin is the synthetic chemicals in everyday cosmetics. And most people are totally unaware of all of the absolute junk which is filling their cosmetics and which is being bathed over their face in huge amounts every day. So we've been doing analyses of that, reminding myself of how unnatural and how damaging the skincare products are.
Yeah.
So that, I would say that was probably the highlight of my week.
Okay, cool. Let's go into that one then. So I find that pretty interesting. So how exactly are you analyzing this? Like, what do you guys do? You just literally go on, tell me how you're analyzing it.
Our partner.
Yeah, well, so
start off with our
basically, Adam, I think you might know this, but we have 4 arms to our business. So we've got the supplements arm, which is Jumo. We have the Skin Microbiome School, which sells packages and services to healthcare professionals all over the world. We have Pavan Research Centre, which is all the research. And then we have a 4th arm, which is a standards organisation called the ONLA. And we set it up to clean up the industry.
What does it stand for, and then what does it stand for too?
The Open Natural Labelling Alliance. So basically, the reason we set it up was because we saw this wild west in the industry. We saw all of these products marketed as natural, yet containing 80% synthetic ingredients and exactly the same chemicals as before, but just with different natural marketing. So we wanted to clean up the whole industry. So ours is the first standards body which guarantees that your product, number one, is 100% truly natural, which many aren't. And then number 2, actually is friendly to your skin microbiome and actually actively helps your skin microbiome. So those are the 2 things. So basically, through this organization, we have an analysis tool, which we call CAT, which is called the Cosmetics Analysis Tool. We just run people's cosmetics through there, and it comes out the other side on a conveyor belt with the analysis of the different chemicals within those cosmetics.
Yeah, and
the percentage
so
of
we
ingredients.
Get, percentage of ingredients in their cosmetics. So say if a person starts on a plan, say Kit started on a program, the Skin Microbiome Fitness program. What the bonus in that would be, obviously, apart from taking them through the whole program, and there's so many other parts to it, but the bonus is that he would say what cosmetics he was using, and then that would be run through the CAT. And so you would get all these percentages of chemical or synthetic chemicals to natural, and so you could see what your products really are. Then it would analyze those ingredients and say what those ingredients are possibly links to or are links to. And then, and then so you can actually see fully where you need to start off. Because the first thing on all of these programs, the first thing is always we look at what their cosmetics are and we say, well, we need to stop using that, or we need to cut down that because this is doing this. So we leave it up to them. It's a choice, but we tell them what's in it, don't we? So we tell them what's in it, and then they start to make a choice that might actually, because they've just realized.
What is CAT? Like, what exactly is that?
Well, it's a data. Main things is the tool is the database of all of which we actually founded all of years back. Everything was founded on the fact of all these chemical ingredients, what they were doing, or what they're possibly linked to, and why they were in cosmetics. So we started exactly that reason, because we realized everyone is piling their cosmetics full of these and then just calling it natural. And we started to look at how these are affecting the skin and our whole body. So it's mainly a database.
Yeah, but then there's a product, right, that someone says to you, or do they have to submit the chemicals on the product for your tool or whatever to look up in your database? How does it actually work?
So it is part automatic. So on the database, so if you go on the product and you look through your ingredients.
Oh, so hold up. So you have a relationship from the product name to the chemicals. Do you have that already? So you say this certain brand, this product equals these chemicals, because you've already done that. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Very good.
Homeboy, preach,
sister.
You got that. You got
so
that.
They have to. So all the person can do is just submit what the product is, and then you guys have the rest.
So we run. We say, for example, I'm using a new brand called. Not similar to any brands out there. I don't know. It just came into my head. And then what we'd do is I would say I'm using this cleansing, exfoliating face wash from. Put the actual name in. It would come out with the percentage of synthetic ingredients and percentage of natural. But then also it just come out with a couple of examples of synthetic chemicals which are in there and what they have been linked with. So there are actually quite a few main ones in cosmetics which repeat over and over again.
The main offenders.
Quite common ones.
So you always see them. So you can choose like the main offenders that people for people, and then show them how much they're in.
Do you guys know? So there's loads of ingredients that go into these products, right? Do you know the actual percentage of the overall product that is made up by this chemical? No. Okay. Yeah.
You never, no, because they don't, as in if you did that, then you give your whole formula away. So all the 100%. Regulations they tell you have to put it in order of percentage. So water almost always comes first because it's the most amount. Not always, yeah. Not always, but mostly in like water-based things. But then you go down and down and down based on percentage.
Fair enough. So. But is that a factor though? Because you could have a bad chemical, but if it's a very, very minute percentage of the overall product.
Great question.
Very good point.
Adept is it adept? No, not adept. Perceptive? No, it's not the wrong.
Inept.
Just answer the question.
Inept.
No, that's inept.
That's it.
No, that's a really good point, and that is a very good point. And unfortunately, at the moment, our cosmetics analysis tool doesn't have that kind of information. In many cases, it is proprietary. Well, I mean, you could find it out because, some people patent. If they patent a formula, you can find it out online. Yeah. But a lot of people, from my knowledge, don't patent the formula.
No, most don't.
So it's very, very hard to get hold of that information. But you're totally right, Adam. And this is a lot of companies actually trying to get away with putting these chemicals in their products by saying, oh, they're in very small amounts and things like this, which may be true, but in combination with. There was one product the other day which had 35 chemicals in it or something like that, synthetic chemicals. Combination, no matter if you have 35 synthetic chemicals and you're putting that on your skin daily, that's going to build up to a very sizable amount. So sometimes that get out clause doesn't really cut it. But you're totally right, Adam. You're totally right.
Is it possible to almost re-engineer these products? Can you break it down and figure out what is it with using science? Is it possible to to figure out the chemicals and ingredients?
It would be very hard because you would need to know like the exact process about. For example,
That'd be hard.
Our skin supplements, there's a very precise timings of when you need to add certain ingredients, exact temperatures and exact timings. So it is quite hard to do that. But I know actually for a fact that a few companies have tried to do that to ours and things like that.
Really? That's cool. With your product, have you guys patented your product?
No,
Nope.
because
Why in general are people not patenting their products? Surely that is like the first thing you do, right?
well, it's a toss up.
No, and by the way, Sam, this is more in relation to large companies, right, who have a huge amount of resource or whatever and money.
Yeah. But if you discovered something incredible, I think in this area it's actually a bit more of a toss up. So even more of a toss up than Adam is because it. I think in cosmetics, if you do a patent, then what you have to do is what you have to ask what you're patenting. Well, you're patenting the formula. So then when you patent something, you have to say what you're patenting, and then you have to release that so that people can challenge it. And so you basically have to release the formula to the public. So if your whole raison d'etre, or you say in French,
raison d'etre.
Yeah, if your whole thing is how your formulation is put together and the process that it's made, then you just release it to the public. So, and then all they have to do in cosmetics, because say other patents are easier to, people can't make anything like that if you patent it. But cosmetics, you can shift a small bit of ingredient or add one ingredient, and then it will totally blow away the patent. So it's not worth it. That's what I think.
In the wrong hands, it isn't good.
Understood. Sorry, I just had another question lined up there in regards to patenting.
He's firing.
Hold up.
Let him think. Because you've ruined his flow now. That's the thing.
Let him
flow
go.
state.
Let him go.
No, you need to learn how to think in.
No, because he was in the flow state, and then you start banging on about, I don't know.
I know, but I'm good at that.
I'm joking, Sam.
I can't get you guys out of my head now. Unfortunately, you mumbling on is like it's really killing the flow state. Nah.
We'll do like a group meditation.
Okay. Anyway, I understand it. The point is that you guys have what you. Oh yeah, there we go. I got my question now. But my question then goes next, which is, how does anyone know that you guys aren't full of shit? And how does anyone know that your product really is that good? Is there a central body that checks these products or anything like that, or as a non-biased?
In what area? You mean in terms of the ingredients being fully natural?
That's a really good question. But again,
that and equally, does it actually work as well? I guess.
Two things there. But well, Adam, that's a really good question. That's the reason we created the standards body, was because no centralized, unbiased body did either of those two things. Exactly. So what we have in the industry at the moment, you have these so-called bodies set up, these natural standards bodies and organic standards bodies, but often, I'll say natural. Going back to the initial point, Adam, that's the exact reason we created the standards body, because many of the bodies which were there to certify natural products, there were many problems with them. So, for example, there were people on the board of those organizations were just the very same companies in the industry who wanted to show that their products were actually quite natural. So they want to preserve their status, and they were
the boards. I'll just clear that up.
Sorry, was that waffly?
I don't think it's that clear. The boards on the natural standards organizations were the leaders of the cosmetics that were being accredited or being analysed by these natural standards organisations.
So it's like an old boys club in the industry, basically.
Hold up. Isn't, to play devil's advocate, you guys have your own product? Isn't there a conflict of interest there? I know you have different company names, but in reality, if you guys are running this standards body, if you want to call it, and you also have a product and a vested interest for that to do well, then isn't there a bit of conflict of interest there?
That is a very good point. That's why we made it independent, and we set out the criteria, first of all, that they, and no one else does this, the criteria for defining a natural product. We're using the food standards for the food industry, which means that no product can be, every product has to be taken directly from nature, and no chemical changes occurred to it whatsoever. And that's the standards which they use in the food industry, but they don't have the same, regulation in the cosmetics industry. So we're bringing that in.
Yeah.
And that was the reason we started all of ours, because we created the first face wash, which was 100% truly natural.
Yeah.
My question before I lost my poetic flow, as Kit put so eloquently earlier, was, do you not need government to really force the standards that you guys are trying to create with your...
So that's a good one. The one thing I would say, firstly, you sum up.
Well, I'd say sum up the problems on each side. One, you're right. Oh, it would be good if the government came in and helped it, and then they could regulate it all. But then on the other side, being from the ilk of sort of free market, libertarian thinking about how products and in general how markets sort of develop products and become better, is that the government doesn't step in and regulate.
Yeah, but
so
Adam's saying the government as an independent body as opposed to, but then the question there is the government ever truly independent? Because it may always have a bias. But anyway,
as you see in America,
that's
the government stepping in. Yeah,
definitely had a bias in many things recently, like COVID. So yeah, that's quite a political thing. But
his research for you, is it the FDA? Is that the food?
Yeah,
America?
FDA.
How did that come around? When was that initiated? Because if you figure out how that started, then maybe you've got a bit of a blueprint as to how the new one was created.
Yeah. Do you know that, Adam? I don't know.
I have zero idea. Okay, let me do the research.
Yeah. Let's do it. We can do it
next episode.
We can do a podcast, and that'd be cool.
I quite like podcasts saying, right, okay, we had things to research from last time. Let's go away, do it, and then talk about it on the next one. Yeah, no, that's a good point.
Rather than saying, "Oh yes, I know exactly."
Yeah, I agree. The FDA, I wouldn't necessarily use the FDA as a blueprint, because they leave the cosmetics
they're very
industry in America is probably even worse in terms of synthetic chemicals in their products.
Cosmetic, there's way more chemicals.
No regulation in food or
no
food
regulation.
Here's the question: what is the most not? Because in the end of the day, what I like to say is we're humans managing humans, right? There's always bias. There's always like potential for corruption, whatever, right? What is the most? What appears to be the most transparent and therefore effective governing body anywhere, like in any industry or whatever, right?
Good question. To have no clue.
Don't answer it.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I mean, also in general, like how it should be set up too, whether it should be government. I don't know, it's tough, isn't it?
Yeah. Because Adam, we were talking about this the other day, but basically,
I've got a good answer.
Yeah. Where I believe in, this is why you need a little bit of government. Where I believe in government intervention in business is for things like when one group or whatever forms a monopoly over the market, and that's when it becomes really, really unhealthy, because they a bit like
a government of its own, doesn't it?
Yeah, you can let me tell the story or what?
No, because you're telling it badly.
So basically, once one company or whatever, or one group forms a monopoly over the market, doesn't really become a free market, and then governments at the moment in the UK, and maybe I don't know about America, but they step in and they break it up into smaller, independently owned.
But I've got a good answer.
Okay,
I've got a good answer, and it's not a full answer, but I would say the obviously to me, I want the driver of which companies do well or standards bodies that do well is driven from the consumers wanting the best products for themselves, rather than just listening to the organisation bodies. So the reason we set ours up is, like you were saying about conflict of interest, but if we've set the standard for 100% natural, so we don't have like a conflict of interest in terms of, oh no, we don't want it to go higher than that. We've set the standard, so we're fine with anything.
There is no way that
True.
our definition you can't get any more natural. So
Yeah.
the whole point is, it's very hard. It's very hard to
I
shape.
think what you guys have said, I get it. I understand that too much regulation or whatever probably doesn't promote companies wanting to innovate or whatever, maybe, or controls them a bit. But I think you're right, Sam, that in theory, if the product is there that is so much better, and the consumers buying it understand the benefits of it versus what is the normal today, then in theory they should opt for the better option, right? If they really knew the negative versus the positives of all the different products and whatnot. So there is that play as well, I guess, which is, like you're saying, is a free market, right? If the market generates this new product and everyone understands why it's so much better than the others, then they should opt towards that.
Adam, you've jogged my mind there too. So what we're trying to do is not make a standards body that is the one ruler. We're trying to make a standards body that is openly transparent, so that if people do come to us, we'll be totally transparent with what is in their products, so they can then choose freely, not told to, but they can choose freely which products they can use. So I don't like the idea of having a standards body that just universally tells people what they can and can't use. I like the idea of a standards body that is there and used by all the people, because it transparently and openly tells people what's in their products, and says you don't have to use this, but
not just what's in their products.
Yeah.
Also, it gives them the education about why it's bad,
about why
the
it's
alternatives, and having too many.
rather than you see a lot.
The problem
of these...
at the moment is the lack of education, and people don't really understand. Loads of people.
Well, there's a reason. I would say, cutting you off there, because again you're going to waffle, but the reason for a lot of the non-transparency, I feel, and non-education is because if you start going to the actual education and be more transparent, then people will start questioning. So if you're confident about people questioning you, like we want everything to be, we want as many questions as possible, then that's where you should start from in building a good organization.
Yeah.
Another question I've got, because I think Kit mentioned this earlier, so I'm going to aim this one at Kit. You said you knew that someone did try and figure out your Jumo product, right? And try and break it down or whatever, figure out how it was done. Number one, how did you know that? Because if I was someone trying to do that, I wouldn't want to let anyone know, especially you guys know. And secondly, the real question is, why do they want to do that?
Well, I'll let you answer the second one yourself. I'll ask you that in a second. How do I know that? Well, let's just say I observed certain patterns with ordering our products by certain third parties, for example.
Yeah. And
also had a couple of conversations with some shadowy agents who work through like kind of spy networks, and they told me that this stuff was going on. I have informants everywhere, really, basically within the cosmetics industry. Adam's
can you hear me still?
Oh my God, what?
I like your waffle, Kit, kind of. I got you. So to the other question, which is...
So I'll ask you it, Adam. You said, what was your question again, the second question?
Yeah, well, it's basically why are they doing it? Because I see that as a win for you guys, right? They're obviously interested in what you guys are doing, right? And they potentially see it as a threat, or they see it as they might have to change the way that they do things, potentially as well, I guess. And therefore they need to figure out how they're going to do it. Yeah.
So knowing what we've just said about where the first product to do a certain thing, what would you say? Why are people trying to copy us?
Because I just said, because they're worried about what you guys are doing. They realize that, they're going to probably need to do it themselves, or at least,
Yeah, exactly. So but what specifically?
What? Sorry.
Oh no, I was just asking what do you think specifically they're trying to do? There's two things.
Oh, really. Fair enough. Or they're trying to prove that you guys are wrong, maybe, or they're trying to disprove what you guys are saying. Or
Oh, that, yeah, no.
or they're trying to copy what you've done and they're trying to emulate it, right?
Yeah, the
Say-
second one. Yeah, they're trying to do the second one. Yeah.
You did it like 3 times, mate. Come on, listen.
No, I know. I was trying to get out the specifics. So yeah, you're right. You're totally right, Adam. Exactly. They're trying to emulate it. And you asked why they would be trying to do that. And basically, to create 100% truly natural face wash has been like the holy grail of cosmetics industry for years and years and years and years and years. And these companies with multi-billion-dollar budgets haven't been able to do it. And we were able to do it and create the world's first 100% truly natural face wash without any of these harsh preservatives. So they want to be able to come up and say, right, so how did you guys do that if we couldn't do it with all our multi-billion dollars?
Do you know that they have tried to create natural products? Do you know that? Or you just assume?
I've got an idea, but
I've talked to enough people within the industry to know really what the feeling within the industry is. Yeah.